Lost mojo, where are they? There is almost a time in every runner's life that their motivation wanes or disappears, and this is often called losing your mojo. This video is going to be about ways as a runner you can make these little blips in your running just that, and not massive gaps in your training that ultimately become self-fulfilling prophecies. In that, if you don't run for long periods, your motivation and view of yourself as a runner can dip to who cares levels. Look, ultimately, we are human. Our levels of motivation will be better some days or months than others. This video seeks to address those dips so they don't interrupt ultimately the consistency of your running. The big why, or ideal or ideas versus your actually reality around your running. There is a huge gap often between our expectations and the ideal situation and the actual experience we have. Running can often be like a film in that you remember the beginning and the end. If the run has been good at the end, great. If not, it's often deemed to be less than our expectations. This matters because it can be profoundly impact our motivation to run. If we feel we are progressing, most runners will run more consistently. Whereas runners who feel they may be not achieving their targets will tend to retreat and get demotivated. So what can you do? So you can get into what I call process over outcome. Now, the outcome is very important. So it's what you want. So it might be a big goal as in a race, or it might be just an outcome of an actual workout you're trying to do. However, working from an outcome perspective, you're always waiting for motivation first before doing something run related. If you get into a process, i.e., you're just going to perform the action, which in this case would be, say, a workout or a run, you're going to let go, at least for the short term, outcome. You're more likely to do the workout because you're not relying on your feelings to be motivated. You're just relying on the fact that you will do that workout to some degree, whatever you feel now. Now, of course, if you're injured or ill, you wouldn't do this. However, in other circumstances, you leave motivation behind. You leave the aspect of, I need to feel good to do this, and you just get into the process, the actual actions of doing the race with the intent of beginning and finishing the workout. If you feel good at the end, then that's great. The outcome is just getting it done. Allow for small setbacks to achieve success. Learn how to reset. One of the biggest setbacks for runners that stops them from feeling motivation is actual setbacks. We have a gap between what we expect and sometimes what we actually get. So when we're doing a workout or thinking about doing it, if we perceive we may fail, then obviously sometimes it isn't coming up to our expectations. So you won't perform as well as you wish, or it won't make us feel good. Then there is a likelihood that we will either consciously or subconsciously decide that we won't do that workout because of the negative effects. If we allow for setbacks, if we accept this will happen, we know that some workouts will be less of what we want than others. And we just learn, as I like to call it, to reset. So when you do a workout that either meets your expectation, exceeds them, or sometimes falls well below those, you accept that this is the case. You take what learnings you can from that experience and you just reset. So as I've said previously, in effect, by resetting, you just get back into process. Another thing I think for motivation is set yourself stepping stone goals. Because another factor that can cause a lack of motivation with your running is creating unwittingly for most runners a massive gap between what they want to achieve and where their present abilities lie or their perception of them. At the time, it often seems stimulating, to set that goal, but often runners get demotivated because ultimately the journey seems too far. Even if it isn't, it seems too far. So if you're a runner, for example, that's ever started a running plan and then as time's gone on, you lost the will to carry on with the running plan, perhaps, you said you've lost your mojo, your motivation. Well, sometimes the goal that you were heading towards was a step too far in some way for you. Because of this, I sometimes, with some of my runners, I coach, create stepping stone goals. So, for example, sometimes they might even be a whole plan would be a stepping stone. So the whole training schedule will be a stepping stone towards a bigger goal ultimately. I do this so it takes the pressure off the runner. They set a slightly smaller goal that they feel is more achievable. It's more achievable, they're more motivated. Sometimes these stepping stones can even just be created just for workouts themselves. If you're struggling to get yourself to do a certain intensity of workout, sometimes it just feels too overwhelming. For example, taking a step back to do that workout is, in your own mind, more achievable and will get you motivated more likely and get you going and running. And then when you've achieved that workout, you're already a step closer to the next step of doing the workout that may have ultimately in the earlier stages stopped you from running because you felt it was too much. And because it was too much, you became either unmotivated or unwilling to do it. So stepping stone goals are great ways of taking a step back to take a step forward towards your goals and keep you moving towards them without getting too unmotivated. And finally, the inner game of running. Just remember that the outward manifestation of running, what you're doing, is quite often what's happening inside of you. It's what I like to call the inner game of running. So if you're lacking motivation or your running is inconsistent, then it's well worth checking in with yourself. For example, checking in with the type of self-talk that you have. How do you literally talk to yourself? Now you might be thinking, I don't, but I can guarantee pretty much that if you're lacking motivation with anything, it's a lot to do with some of what we've already mentioned either earlier in this video, or it may be some sort of self-talk that you're creating within yourself that's demotivating you. I often say to runners about this, would you talk to another individual the way you talk to yourself? And most of us wouldn't. Most of us would be a lot kinder to another person in the tone and the sort of things we said to people if they were struggling. Then we would often talk to ourselves when we are struggling and we need to motivate ourselves. Now, why is this important? Why is the tone and the way we talk to ourselves even matter? Well, it gives us hope that we can achieve something, or if we talk to ourselves in the wrong way, it demoralizes us to a point where we feel we can't achieve something. In essence, it becomes a lack of motivation. Now, I do have an ebook that explains my views on the inner game of running, plus more tips that you can use to keep motivated. And I'll put it in the notes below this video. So that's it, really. So motivations, the inner game, they all manifest themselves externally in our actions that we haven't taken or wish to take. Remember that lack of outward motivation, not running, for example, is just a signpost to what is going on within ourselves. Thanks a lot for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, then, give us a like or subscribe to the channel. That really will help us a lot. Or comment below if you've got any thoughts on having a lack of motivation and how you get over it, or, things that you do. I'd love to hear them. Anyway, bye for now.